Let's kick things off and hope our guest analyst can join us. But while we're waiting for him, let's get to this Nigeria. Rising food costs, hunger require urgent action. That's according to this Nigeria. Senate President Akpabio warns on looming food crisis over UN alert that 35 million Nigerians risk hunger. That's slightly over 10% if we look at that number based on the fact that we're between 200 million to 230 or 215. We're not sure because we haven't done the census since 2006 or so. So we're still, just aggregating based on estimation. But the issue of food and rising costs, we know for a fact that because of the twin policy of the president, especially that has to do with fuel subsidy removal, harmonization of the currency that took out the arbitrage and the rent seeking, it has its own ripple effect on the economy, hitting very hard on people, and everything went, extremely high. Where we also saw that food prices come down at some point, but it hasn't arrived where it left off in terms of the beginning before the President Bola Tinubu came in. But this has to do with the Senate President calling the government that is on there to say, look, we need to do something. If 35 million people is a report by the UN about issues around food crisis that will affect Nigerians, about 35 million of us, that is a very, very alarming situation. Now, when these things are raised, it's not about making government look bad. It's about calling your attention to say, whatever it is you're doing, you need to be quick and fast. Hunger is the basic of anything. Before you think of clothing, before you think of shelter, food is critical to everybody. So policy rejigging, I know that some things were done. I think, Bukola, that was last year, about some importation or waivers that were given based on certain imports.
The waivers that never came through.
I think it was just very minimal. There were some improvement at some point.
I doubt that it ever came through.
But it took a lot of time because we kept interrogating.
Yes, we kept interrogating.
Asking the people, when will this happen? But this is where
the pronouncements, relevant ministries never signed off on it, In fact, they never secured the list of importance that would benefit from the waivers.
So at the end of the day, it's about matching policy statement with real action. These things are doable. We're blessed with arable lands. I know that one of the pronouncements of the president at some point was cultivation of land, hundreds of thousands of hectares of land. I don't know how much that has gone. But there was a time we saw a decrease in the price significantly in certain products across the country. But it looks like we're back there again. So this back and forth has to be sorted as quickly as possible.
And so we need to interrogate, this reports of crash in food prices, often quoted by the aides of the administration under this present government, and ask if indeed the crash in food prices is a result of the slowing down of inflation, or maybe the seasonal periods of harvest of different agricultural food products.
Everything comes to play, Bola, everything.
So we should interrogate it because sometimes it would seem like propaganda when aides of the administration quote the crash in food prices. Yes, indeed, some agricultural products have had their prices come down significantly compared to where we started off from in April 2023 or May 2023, as the case may be. But we're seeing that some other staples have held steady with the increase in the price.
So give us the data. Yes, that's why I allow you.
Yes.
I shouldn't say anything about this.
Like, vegetable oil, for instance. I doubt that the price of the brands that you would rather go for as against the ones that are unbranded have ever really come down. And all the other household items that are not that are branded, that are manufactured by different brands, I'd rather not mention them now. But those cereals, I doubt that their prices have ever really come down. So agricultural products, some agricultural products like yam, rice, yes indeed, some have come down. Yam, the price of yam comes down seasonally. Sometimes it goes up, as against what you used to buy for, for a tuber at a time 1,500. You can never find a tuber at 1,500 anymore. You'd find reasonably at 2,500, 3,000, 2,500, you're lucky. But unlike those days where you buy yam in, bundles of 3 or 4 for very good prices, you don't have those times anymore. So it's a relative outlook in terms of the price of agricultural products coming down significantly, as often quoted by aides of the administration.
Yeah, I think you can go to the next paper. Just at the end of the day, if we have 35 million people in danger, I think we should be alarmed as a country. And this is coming from the United Nations, reaffirmed by the concerns by the Senate President. Bukola, you have the next one.
Speaking of the next paper, let's head over now. I wonder if we'll have Daily Independent ready. Okay, let's head over to the Guardian newspaper this time around, where we're having a report here as the lead story. ADC hosts opposition show of force, unity push ahead of 2027. And so you also see a capturing of the high point of the president's visit to Turkey from yesterday, seen in the big picture on the front page. President Tinubu and President Erdogan. Of course, a partnership has been signed for bilateral trade to increase from what it was to, I think, about 501 billion naira, $1 billion as reported by the presidency. And so for the big story, I wonder if it is the same as being reported by the Daily Independent.
It is.
Yes. You know, the high point of that has got quite a number of people talking. Jeffrey, the book launch of the National Publicity Secretary of the African Democratic Congress, the Loyalist. It will be an interesting book to
Yeah, we're going to have him on the show.
But some of the, you know, sound bites coming through about, you know, what 2027 would look like and how the projections are wrong about, you know, this current administration having a record number of governors, and that positions it to be, you know, the party to beat in 2027 presidential election. Well, we know what presidential elections often look like in this country. All politics is local, and grassroots politics is about the numbers. If you don't have the numbers, you certainly do not have the power at the end of the day when elections are determined. But what is being cited is the departure from the norm of the outcome of the 2023 presidential election, where a record number of votes were scored by a third force in the election. That's about 6.1 million votes. Yes, by the candidate of the Labour Party at the time, of course, who is now a member of the coalition ADC. So is that, you know, something to peg the possibility or the unpredictability of the 2027 presidential election on? That we do not know. But the speaker in this particular soundbite, who is a former Minister of Interior and, of course, a former ally.
Very strong ally.
Yeah.
Very strong ally. I call it.
But former now.
Yeah, yes, a former strong ally. I call it political hot hair. It's everybody. The presidency, they are very confident that this is home run for them. The opposition is saying, don't be too quick. There's even an implosion coming in your own party. You're swelling, and all of the movement is distorting interest. And it's true technically because everybody who is, for instance, in the APC, in those states that were PDP, they had people that had ambition to be governors or to run for the office of governor. Now, the movement has automatically made them, you know, they may have to relax their ambition.
If the Labour Party's emergence and, you know, uncanny ability to build structure and get 6.1 million votes in the presidential election is what is being cited, then maybe the ADC could make a strong showing at the presidential election, depending on the candidate that they decide to present. And that is also causing a debate. But they do not have the requisite structure for governorship elections in a number of states of the Federation currently. And we're looking at their performance based on that.
You know, when it comes to political analytics, I try to took away emotions. There is a Nigerian way of running elections and winning them. APC seem to be getting that right. But ideally, the people decide, like what we had in 2023, where there was this outlier effect. No, it was a shock to everybody, political analysts, pundits, everybody, including the political class, that you don't have a governor, you don't have anybody, and it happened. And in fact, I dare say, if the governorship election had happened the same day the presidential election, most of these governors would have won elections. Because of that, you know, that movement. So all of the political juggernauts now, they've learned their lesson. They are making adjustments, realigning, horse trading. But the people is the people will eventually decide who their leader is. That doesn't mean that there cannot be superimposition of political influence like watchers, rigging the system. So you factor in everything, then you can now make a proper analysis to say, but as we speak, the pendulum is very, very, I don't want to go beyond what I'm about to say.
So it's that shock element of it, perhaps it's the shock element of the 2023 presidential election outcome that the ADC is relying upon and has caused this coalition. And perhaps that is what the APC itself is relying upon to ensure that it gets the numbers as seen in the record number of defections that we have seen. But the last point I was going to make on that outing from yesterday, Jeffrey, is the dramatis personae in that soundbite. The former Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, who was a strong ally of this current president. It's quite unbelievable to think or know that at any time in history that it could be in another party different from the party of the president, because they were quite close. And in fact, some said he was the closest of all the political mentees of Mr. President. If you consider the Fasholas of this world, the Okwemi Bamidelis of this world, and there are quite a number of them. And so, Jeffrey, sometimes when I look at the former Ministry of Interior, I wonder if this form of political espionage, is he really?
We don't know.
In the ADC or in the APC and the ADC?
Some it could be strategy, some it could be espionage, some it could be like we're falling out. You will never know. Politics is driven by interest. For Nigerian politicians, for a lot of them, is driven by two things, in my view. This is my own enlightened opinion. Self-preservation, so personal interest. And there is no crime in self-preservation. And then there's the issue of subservience to power. People want to have access to power. That is what drives most of these guys. So all of this, in the interest of my people, I don't buy it. If it's in the interest of your people, stay there and lose the election. Let's see. So, but it's within their right. What we're advocating for is for a bit of decency within the political space where people don't just wake up and be jumping around. If you lose, I want the APC to survive. I want the PDP to survive. I want the NNPP to survive. I want Labour, ADC. I want all these parties to survive so that we have if APC wins, okay, everybody go and rest, we strategize the next election. Then you take the APC out. APC go and put themselves together, maybe take them another 10, 15, 20, whatever. That is how democracy should be. I have seen elections in my studies in the United States where a Republican Party literally won almost all the state, literally almost all the state, over 500 college votes. By the next election, they lost. That is what democracy is about.
Well, beyond the political parties surviving, I want the democracy to thrive for the benefit of the people, not just the political parties.
Well, they are the players that will push up the policies that will make democracy
It's the political parties that are surviving, but democracy is losing out, and democracy is about the people.
I totally agree with you.
That's what's important.
We'll take a break, and when we come back after this break, the FCTA issues the workers under the ministry of the FCT. Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister, had taken them because there were sundry issues about welfare, and we're here between 14 to 22. But what is popular is 14. Well, the government, under Nyesom Wike, said, look, we've met 10. Why are you going on this? And then it ended in the industrial court, where the industrial court has ruled and said, hey, while this case is going on, please go back to work. And the FCT minister has come out to say, if I don't see you at work today, I'm going to come hard on you. Well, it's Aid. Media Aid is joining us. Leo Lionka joins us in just a moment. Stay with us.